This is the age of miracles and of nightmares. We've split the atom, decoded the genome, and wired the world. We wield power that would make the old gods tremble. And yet a profound anxiety lingers. The technology is awesome, but is it benign? And who controls this power? Are there any among us wise enough to wield it? To understand the deeper forces that give rise to this condition, let's take a look at two stories. One from the book of Genesis, and the other from a classic tale best known to American audiences from Disney's Fantasia. They're telling us the same thing about the peril of our current moment. We'll start with the allegory of Eden. God places two trees in the garden, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The tree of life represents existence in covenant with God, a relationship of trusting reliance on divine guidance. In the Baha'i faith, we understand this covenant as God's promise to never leave humanity in darkness, to always send us prophets and great educators like Enoch, Moses, Buddha, Krishna, Jesus, Muhammad, and Baha'u'llah, who provide the divine knowledge and laws necessary for our collective spiritual progress. To live by this tree is to accept that life unfolds according to a divine plan. It means trusting in the wisdom and timing rather than our own impatient ambition. It's the path of a humble search for truth rather than a greedy grabbing. Now, the other tree's name is critical. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It's not about moral knowledge. The word for knowledge in Latin is scientia. This tree represents the human capacity to obtain scientific knowledge, a power that can be directed toward profound good or catastrophic evil. The temptation in the garden was to seize this power without the wisdom to wield it. The serpent said, "For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God." The temptation was to grasp the power to define and shape reality, separate from the source of life itself, to acquire the powers of a deity without the relationship and responsibility. So they ate, their eyes were opened, and the immediate consequence was shame, alienation, and exile from the tree of life. They got the knowledge, but lost the connection to the covenant. Now let's consider the story of the Sorcerer's Apprentice. The Disney segment in Fantasia is based on a poem written in 1797 by the German literary giant Goethe, which touches on these exact themes of hubris and uncontrolled power. A sorcerer's apprentice, left alone, mimics an incantation, bringing a broom to life to do his chores. And it works. The cauldron fills with water, but the broom doesn't stop. The apprentice realizes he never learned the gesture to stop the magic. He tries to destroy the broom, but it only creates an army of brooms from the shattered pieces. The workshop floods. He's nearly drowned by the very power he sought to command. This is the precise condition of modern humanity. We are the apprentice who stole the sorcerer's hat. We are Adam and Eve, standing with the juice of the forbidden fruit dripping from our lips. For centuries, we've been eating from the tree of knowledge. We have the very knowledge of good and evil, the scientific power to create miraculous healing or weapons of mass destruction. Our eyes have been opened, We are technologically like God. But spiritually, morally, we're still apprentices. We have the power of gods, but the wisdom of reckless children. The flood in the workshop is our ecological crisis, our nuclear anxiety, our potential for AI-driven tyranny. We're drowning in the consequences of a power we grasped before we were ready, before we had the covenantal relationship with the tree of life that would teach us how to use the power wisely. So what's the way out? Well, the story of the Sorcerer's Apprentice gives us a clue. The apprentice doesn't save himself. The solution for the apprentice was having the humility to call upon the superior wisdom of the master to save him. When the true sorcerer returns, he restores order with a command. For the Baha'is under the covenant, this is more than a metaphor. It is a divine reality. We believe that the Master, the one foretold as the return of Christ seated upon the throne of David, has already returned to restore order to the world. His name is Baha'u'llah, the glory of God. He is the Prince of Peace from Isaiah 9, and he has brought to the world a divine plan for peace and the spiritual framework for the coming age. For us, the path forward isn't to abandon knowledge. We can't uneat the fruit. The path is to seek the wisdom we skipped. It's to stop our greedy grasping from the tree of knowledge long enough to seek out the tree of life, to embrace this new covenant and the spiritual guidance that teaches us how and why knowledge should be used. We are the sorcerer's apprentice, standing in the flood of our own making. The question is, will we keep chopping frantically at the brooms, trying to solve a crisis of wisdom with more reckless power? Or will we have the humility to recognize that the Master has returned and finally learn to wield our godlike power with the reverence he alone can teach us? To learn more about the Baha'is under the covenant, visit schooloftheland.com.